I never thought I'd find her note, not tucked in the back of our shared dresser. "Gone with him. Sorry," was all she wrote. Just like that, my world turned upside down. I stared at the note, the ink a stark contrast to the white paper, as if it mocked my disbelief. The shock barely settled when I found the bills, piles of them, hidden in the kitchen drawer. Credit card debts, unpaid loans, all in her name, but now mine to bear. How could she do this to us? To me? I scrambled to make sense of the numbers, each digit a harsh reminder of the life we built, now crumbling. I met up with my buddies at our regular spot, expecting some comfort, maybe a few beers to drown my sorrows. Instead, what I got were confessions. "We saw her with someone, thought you knew." Each word was a punch to the gut. They knew about her affair and didn't have the guts to tell me. I downed my drink, the bitterness lingering longer than usual. Work was no escape. My boss called me in, his face somber. "Your performance, it's not the same." I knew what was coming. The stress had caught up with me, affecting my job. And just like that, I was out of a job, out of a marriage, drowning in debt. That's when I decided, no more playing it safe. I was going to start my own business, something small, but mine. A tech repair shop, nothing fancy, but it was a start. I rented a tiny space downtown, sold what little I had left for equipment. It was a gamble, a leap into the unknown, but what did I have to lose? Each day in that shop was a battle, against my fears, against the mounting bills. But with every device I fixed, I pieced back a part of myself. I was no longer just the guy who got left behind. I was someone fighting back, carving a new path. The sound of tools, the smell of solder, they became my new normal, my sanctuary from the chaos that was my life outside those four walls. I never expected her to leave, for my friends to betray me, for my life to spiral like this. But there I was, soldering iron in hand, determined to fix more than just broken gadgets. I was going to rebuild my life, one repair at a time. You know what they say about adding insult to injury? Well, that's exactly how it felt when I heard about her new life. There she was, living it up in luxury while I was scraping by, fixing tech in a cramped shop. Turns out her new beau was loaded, or so I thought. Fancy dinners, exotic vacations, plastered all over social media. It stung, not gonna lie. Every glossy photo was a slap in the face, a reminder of what she left me for. But then, the plot thickened. A regular at my shop, Eddie, who had the inside scoop on everything, leaned in one day and whispered, "Her guy's into some shady stuff, man. Serious business. Illegal dealings," he said. Something about money laundering and fraud. My ex, mixed up with a criminal? It was like watching a car crash in slow motion, horrifying but impossible to look away. Meanwhile, my little shop started to show signs of life. People came in with their busted phones, laptops on life support. Word got around about the guy who could fix anything. Business was picking up, finally. It felt good, real good. I was building something honest. But just when things were looking up, the atmosphere shifted. I started feeling eyes on me. One day, I noticed a car parked across the street, just sitting there. Another day, it was a different car, same deal. Coincidence? I didn't think so. I had a hunch it was her lover's goons, keeping tabs on me. Why? I had no idea. Then, the threat came. Not face to face, but a note, slipped under my shop door. "Stay away from her," it read. No signature, but it didn't need one. The message was clear, and it was meant to scare me. Thing is, I hadn't spoken to her since she left. Why would they care about me now? What were they afraid of? It was a mess, a real mess. There I was, trying to rebuild my life, and these shadows from her new world were creeping in on me. But I wasn't going to back down. This was my life, my business, and I wasn't going to be intimidated by some thugs in fancy cars. No way. I kept the note, a reminder of what I was up against, a reminder to stay sharp. I wasn't just fixing phones anymore. I was fighting for my piece of the world. The day her lover got cuffed and stuffed into a police car, the news spread like wildfire. Turns out Mr. High and Mighty was a fraudster, a big-time one, and now he was going down. I couldn't help but think about her, suddenly left high and dry, her fancy lifestyle crumbling to dust. It was a strange feeling, part satisfaction, part pity. But then, things started going south for me too. My tech shop, my pride and joy, was hit. First, it was small stuff, like orders getting mixed up, shipments delayed. Then, it escalated. One morning I came in to find the front window smashed, computers and gadgets stolen. It was a professional job, too clean for some random act of vandalism. I couldn't prove it, but I knew it had to be connected to her lover. Maybe his cronies didn't like that I was still standing, still surviving. The real kicker came one night at my place. I was up late, paperwork spread all over the living room when I heard it, the subtle click of my back door. I crept over, heart pounding, and there he was, a masked guy halfway through my window. We locked eyes, and for a second, we were both frozen. Then instinct kicked in. I lunged, we tussled, but he bolted, escaping into the night. I was left there, shaking, knowing this was no coincidence. Amidst all this chaos, I got wind that she'd been asking about me. Not directly, of course. Through mutual friends, the grapevine. How's he doing? Is he okay? It was almost laughable. Now she cared? After all that had happened, after she tore our life apart? But the ultimate blow was yet to come. Mike, my best friend since high school, the guy the first trusted with my life, turned on me. I caught him red-handed, passing info about my business to one of her lover's associates. Money, that was his price. He sold me out for a few grand. It was like being punched in the gut, betrayal by someone I considered a brother. So there I was, dealing with sabotage, break-ins, betrayal. It was a mess, a real storm. But I wasn't about to lie down and take it. No, I was going to fight back, tooth and nail. This was more than just about my business now. It was about standing up, about not letting the darkness swallow me whole. I was in the eye of the storm, but I was still standing. Just when I thought life couldn't throw any more curveballs my way, I got a call from a lawyer I'd never heard of, saying something about a family matter. Turns out, my old man, rest his soul, had a few secrets of his own. The biggest one? Another kid. Yeah. A half-sibling I never knew I had. Name's Alex, about a decade younger than me. Same dad, different moms. The news hit me like a ton of bricks. A brother, all these years, and I had no clue. Alex and I met at a dingy diner halfway between our towns. Awkward? You bet. But as we talked, the pieces started to fit. He had photos, stories about dad, stuff that made it real. And then he dropped another bomb. We had an inheritance. Dad left us a piece of land, prime real estate, sitting right in the middle of a developing area. It was worth a fortune. We decided to sell it. It was a no-brainer, really. That kind of money could change our lives. We shook hands, two strangers bound by blood and a sudden stroke of luck, planning to cash in on a legacy we never knew we had. In the midst of all this, she tried to reach out. My ex, the one who left me in ruins. Calls, texts, even showing up at the shop once. But I couldn't. Every time I saw her name, my heart raced with a mix of anger and pain. So, I ignored her, focusing instead on the deal with Alex. But news travels fast in small towns. Through the grapevine, I heard about her plight. No more lavish lifestyle, no more fancy dinners. She was broke, out on the streets. Part of me wanted to feel vindicated, to relish in her downfall. But another part, maybe the part that once loved her, felt a pang of sympathy. Life had come full circle for her, and it wasn't pretty. I kept busy with Alex, finalizing the sale of the land. We were close, real close, to signing off on a deal that would set us up for good. It was all happening so fast, a whirlwind of meetings, calls, and paperwork. Amidst the chaos, I found myself thinking about her, about how life can take such unexpected turns. I was on the brink of a new beginning, while she was at the end of her rope. Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying the video so far. If you do, please take a moment to hit that like button. It really helps me out and lets me know you appreciate the content. Also, if you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel. Subscribing is a great way to stay updated with all the latest videos and to be part of our growing community. It's quick, it's free, and it ensures you won't miss out on any upcoming content. So go ahead, smash that like button and hit subscribe. Your support means a lot and keeps this channel going. Thanks for watching. Life's a funny thing. Just when you think you're about to hit it big, it throws a curveball straight at your face. That's what happened with me and Alex, my newfound brother. We were all set to sell the land, counting the days to our big payday, when bam. Legal troubles. Some distant relatives crawled out of the woodwork, claiming they had a stake in the inheritance. Lawyers, court dates, the works. It was like being stuck in a bad TV show, only the drama was real, and the stakes were high. As if that wasn't enough, my tech shop, my sanctuary from all the chaos, was hit again. This time, they went all out. Smashed windows, graffiti on the walls, equipment trashed. It was a clear message. Someone didn't want me to succeed, didn't want me to rise from the ashes. Every shattered piece of glass was a reminder of the struggle, the fight to keep what was mine. Then came the worst part. Alex, poor kid, got into what they called an accident. But I knew better. His car was run off the road, left him in a hospital bed with broken bones and a concussion. The timing was too convenient, too suspicious. It felt like a warning, like someone was trying to tell us to back off from the inheritance. And if that wasn't clear enough, the threats started. Anonymous calls, notes left at my doorstep. Leave the land alone, they said. It was like being in a spy movie, only there were no cameras, no director yelling, cut. This was my life, and it was turning into a nightmare. In the midst of this storm, I found out about her, my ex-wife. There she was, the woman who left me for a life of luxury, now homeless, wandering the streets. It was a shock, seeing her like that. Once upon a time, she was my everything, and now she was just lost. I saw her from a distance, rummaging through a trash can for food. It was heartbreaking, in a way. I wanted to be angry, to hate her for all she'd done, but seeing her like that, it just left me feeling empty. So there I was, caught in a legal battle, my business in shambles, my brother in a hospital bed, and my ex-wife on the streets. It was a mess, a big, complicated mess. But I wasn't about to give up, not on the inheritance, not on Alex, not even on my shop. I had to stand my ground, fight for what was rightfully ours. The threats, the attacks, they were meant to scare me, but I was done being scared. I was ready to fight back. Just when I thought I was alone in this crazy whirlwind, an old friend, Danny, stepped in. Danny and I go way back, to the days when our biggest worry was who'd win the next football game. He heard about my troubles, the legal mess, the shop getting trashed, Alex in the hospital. And he came, not just with a sympathetic ear, but with an offer of help. He had connections, resources, the kind of stuff you need when you're in a bind. It was like a lifeline thrown my way when I was drowning. The legal battle over the inheritance was heating up. It was no longer just about the land or the money. It was personal, a fight for justice, for what Dad left us. The relatives contesting the will were relentless, but so was I. Danny's help was invaluable, getting me a good lawyer, someone who could navigate the murky waters of inheritance law. Each court date felt like going into battle, armed with legal documents instead of swords. In the midst of this legal tornado, I stumbled upon something big. I was going through some of the shop's security footage, looking for any clue about who might be behind the vandalism. And there it was, clear as day, a face I recognized. It was one of her lover's goons, the same guy the first saw lurking around during their high times. He was there the night of the break-in. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. He was connected to all my recent troubles. My ex's lover, or should I say, ex-lover now, was pulling the strings. And then, just when I thought things couldn't get more dramatic, she made a public spectacle. My ex-wife, the woman who tore my heart out, stood in front of a local news camera, tears and all, begging for my forgiveness. I made a mistake, she sobbed. I never should have left him. It was surreal, watching her unravel like that, on full display for the whole town to see. But the real shocker came at the shop. I was going over the books with my business partner, Rick, when I found something off. Numbers didn't add up, transactions that made no sense. Digging deeper, I uncovered the ugly truth. Rick, my partner, the guy the first trusted to help run my business, was in cahoots with her lover. He'd been feeding them information, helping them sabotage my shop. It was a betrayal I never saw coming. He was playing me all along, a double agent in my midst. So there I was, surrounded by legal battles, betrayal, and the ghost of my past marriage haunting me. Danny's support was a godsend, but it was clear this fight was far from over. I had to brace myself, for there was more turbulence ahead, and I needed to be ready for whatever came next. I always thought I had a good nose for sniffing out trouble, but Rick, my business partner, fooled me good. Finding out he was in bed with my ex's lover was like swallowing a bitter pill. I confronted him at the shop, my blood boiling, demanding answers. He just smirked, that smug look on his face. One thing led to another, and before I knew it, we were in a full-blown fistfight, right there among the broken computers and tangled wires. The cops showed up, and guess who they took away in cuffs? Me. Rick played it cool, the innocent victim, while I was the raging lunatic. It was a setup, a well-orchestrated one. In the back of the police car, handcuffed and fuming, I realized just how deep this rabbit hole went. My ex, her lover, now Rick, they were all in this together, pulling strings to bring me down. In jail, I found myself sharing a cell with a face from the past, one of her lover's old associates, Joey. He recognized me, and we got to talking. Turns out, he had a bone to pick with her lover too. Betrayal, backstabbing, the usual in their line of work. Joey had the lowdown on a lot of their operations, dirty secrets that could blow the lid off the whole thing. He made me an offer, protection for information. It was a risky deal, but I was in no position to be picky. I needed something, anything, to turn the tides in my favor. So, I shook hands with the devil, promising to keep him safe in exchange for the dirt on my ex's lover and his cronies. The next day, I was out on bail, thanks to Danny's quick thinking. But the damage was done. My mugshot was all over the local news, the tech shop guy who lost it and assaulted his partner. My reputation, the one thing I had worked so hard to build, was in tatters. So there I was, out on bail, my name dragged through the mud, but with a glimmer of hope. Joey's information was a goldmine, a ticket to bringing down the whole corrupt empire that had entangled my life. It was a long shot, but I was ready to roll the dice. I had nothing left to lose and everything to gain. The day she showed up at my door, I almost didn't recognize her. There she stood, my ex-wife, the one who'd turned my life upside down. She looked different, the high life had left its mark. She started in with the apologies, the pleas for understanding. But I wasn't having any of it. Too much water under the bridge, too many wounds still raw. I shut the door on her and that chapter of my life, for good. Armed with Joey's intel, I started putting the pieces together. It was like a puzzle, each piece revealing more of the sordid picture. Her lover's criminal network was vast, involved in all sorts of shady deals. I began feeding the information to the authorities, bit by bit. It felt good, like I was finally taking back some control, striking back at those who'd wronged me. Meanwhile, Alex, my brother, was on the mend. The kid was tough, bounced back like a champ. He joined me in the legal battle, a united front against the relatives contesting our inheritance. We were a team, blood proving thicker than water. Together, we were determined to clear our name, to claim what was rightfully ours. But life wasn't done throwing punches. My shop, my sanctuary, was on the brink of collapse. Legal fees piled up, and the sabotage had taken its toll. Customers were wary, business had slowed to a trickle. Bankruptcy loomed like a dark cloud, ready to burst at any moment. It was a bitter pill to swallow, seeing my dream, my hard work, teetering on the edge of ruin. And as if on cue, the threats escalated. Her lover's associates weren't too happy about my meddling, about the information I was leaking. They started coming after me, more brazenly this time. My car's brakes were tampered with, a clear message. Then came the late-night phone calls, the veiled threats. It was a game of cat and mouse, and I was the mouse. So there I was, fighting on all fronts, against my ex, her lover's cronies, the legal system. My shop was dying, my safety was in jeopardy, but I wasn't about to give up. I had to stand my ground, for myself, for Alex, for what was right. The storm was raging, but I was still standing, still fighting. After what felt like an eternity, the court finally ruled in our favor. Alex and I won the legal battle over the inheritance. Relief washed over me like a wave. It wasn't just about the money or the land anymore. It was about justice, about proving we were more than just pawns in someone else's game. We walked out of that courtroom, heads held high, ready to start a new chapter. Around the same time, my shop started to turn around. Maybe it was the universe throwing me a bone, or maybe it was just hard work paying off. Either way, customers began trickling back in. The sound of the shop bell ringing became music to my ears. Each repair, each sale, was a small victory, a step away from the brink of bankruptcy. But the battle was far from over. Through Joey, I stumbled upon something bigger than I could have imagined, a massive conspiracy involving my ex's lover and some high-profile figures. Corruption, blackmail, you name it. The web of deceit was vast, reaching into places I never thought possible. It was dangerous territory, but I knew I had to act. Exposing them could topple their empire, could end the threats and the fear. It was a risk, but one I was willing to take. I started gathering evidence, documenting everything. It was like living in a spy novel, only this was real life, with real danger. Every step I took was calculated, every move planned. I knew I was playing with fire, but the thought of bringing them down, of getting justice, drove me forward. In the midst of all this, tragedy struck. My ex-wife, the woman who had set this whole mess in motion, was found on the streets, a victim of a hit and run. She was in critical condition, fighting for her life. Despite everything, the news hit me hard. There was a time when she was my everything, and seeing her brought so low, so broken, stirred something in me. Anger, pity, sadness, a mix of emotions I couldn't quite name. So there I was, on the verge of exposing a criminal network, my business slowly recovering, and my ex-wife clinging to life. The stakes were high, and the path ahead was fraught with danger. But I was committed, ready to face whatever came my way. It was no longer just about me or Alex or even the shop. It was about righting wrongs, about fighting back against those who thought they could trample over our lives. The storm was raging, but I was ready to ride it out. Walking into that hospital room was the hardest thing I've ever done. There she was, my ex-wife, lying there so fragile, so different from the woman who walked out on me. It was a jumble of emotions, seeing her hooked up to all those machines. I wasn't there to forgive or forget. I was there because, despite everything, she was a part of my life, a chapter that was closing. In the days that followed, I made my move against the conspiracy. With the evidence I'd gathered, I went to the authorities. It was like watching dominoes fall, one arrest after another. High-profile figures, people in power, all brought down. The news broke out, and it was chaos, a storm of media and public outcry. I was in the eye of it all, the man who brought down the corrupt empire. But as the world hailed me as a hero, I felt nothing but emptiness. My ex-wife, despite our rocky past, didn't make it. She succumbed to her injuries, alone in that hospital bed. It was a strange mix of sadness and relief. A part of my history was gone, leaving behind a void, a quiet space where the chaos used to be. The aftermath was surreal. My shop became a local landmark, the base of the man who took on the big guns and won. Business boomed, people coming in just to shake my hand, to see the hero. But inside, I was hollow. The fight, the struggle, it had taken its toll. I looked in the mirror and barely recognized the man staring back. So there I was, standing in my thriving shop, surrounded by success and accolades. But the cost was high. The journey had left deep scars, a sense of loss and betrayal that I couldn't shake off. I'd fought against corruption, against those who wronged me, but at what price? I was alone, the cheers and congratulations echoing around me, a reminder of everything I'd been through, everything I'd lost. It was a bittersweet victory, a triumph shadowed by the weight of the past. I had won the battle, but the war had changed me, shaped me into someone I never thought I'd become. The shop, once a symbol of my struggle, was now a monument to my victory, but also to the personal cost of that win. As I locked up each night, I couldn't help but wonder if it was all worth it, if the price of justice was a price I was willing to pay. The journey was over, but the memories, the scars, they would stay with me, a constant reminder of the price of fighting.